So I thought it might be worth speaking about the Gilligang's latest projects, El Camino and Season 5 of Better Call Saul. As of this video, things are a bit, here, there and everywhere, so I imagine the wait for what comes next is going to be even longer, which, okay, is I can live with that, it's fine, yeah, it's alright. Hey, I'm sure the writers will be using the time well. See, the positive side, I can do it. El Camino continues the story of Breaking Bad, serving as an epilogue to the series, but also attempting to function as a standalone movie. Picking up directly after the events of the finale, it follows Jesse Pinkman's escape to freedom, while also truncating most of what happened in Season 5, centered around his imprisonment at the hands of the neo-Nazis, forcing him to be their meth cook. Of course, if you've never seen the show, then that sentence sounds absolutely mad. But it attempts to get people up to speed in a non-linear fashion to create a story about the fight for personal freedom. Lots of cowboy analogies. I don't know that I can say it's entirely successful in being only a movie. There's too much I think you need full context for to really get the most out of the piece, and a lot of lingering moments randos are going to be blanking on, even if they like how it's expressed. As a result, part of me, like most I imagine, was expecting this to be a more revelatory chapter. Something huge and gripping, dedicated mostly to the fans. But that's not the point, and it kind of never should be. It worked for me on its own merits. I liked this a lot. It's the final word in the saga, until Gene's done cooking those donuts anyway. It's also clearly an opportunity for Vince to tick direct my own feature off his bucket list, and I sense that was a big part of why the movie doesn't try to lift itself above Breaking Bad's narrative. He's always been good at delegating work to others and raising his staff up to take control. It's why the series has become this wonderful collective vision over the years. But it seems this is a hurdle he's always wanted to jump over himself, as well as add to Aaron Paul's resume. Given this is how Breaking Bad began for Vince, it only makes sense that he be the one to bring things to a definite close. The best thing it does is put into perspective something I always liked about the final series. Until Season 5, Breaking Bad had maintained a somewhat heightened reality. Mythical comic book villains and high-concept turns, the stuff that makes up most of the marketing. Season 5 rolls around and things get turned down a notch. Not dramatically, but certainly in terms of how it's dressed up. Walt's existence as a drug kingpin is more measured, putting his skills as an entrepreneur to use in his own time, and making mistakes without any immediate pressure behind him to watch out for, as far as he knows. The villains were still caricatured, but they're not complicated or unbelievable. In fact, I think somebody said the only unbelievable thing about Breaking Bad was that it took 5 seasons for meth Nazis to show up, so there you go. As we build to the ultimate turning point, where we actually discover the shred of Walt's humanity taking control, I don't need to overstate it. The season was wonderful at ramping the show down to a natural point of humility. I was a bit worried when it began. The jarring shift from television to film production kind of leaps out and makes it feel stilted, but as it settles, it begins to work, mostly because of what it represents, that humility. The steadier, quieter, sterile quality of the piece best reflects the world without Walter White in it. Seriously, Albuquerque feels disemboweled, as if claws came down out of the sky and ripped through the landscape, leaving it dead on the floor. And with him gone, the fear he left behind is slowly lifting. It's as if you can hear Breaking Bad taking a long, final exhale into this movie. Past elements are used to best express this desire for freedom, embracing what was already interesting rather than strive to add too many new moving parts to the machine. We get to revel in stuff like Todd's sociopathy in full, even if he looks like a whole different guy, but hey, no shame, just funny they tried to trick us is all, you sneaky Pete's. The ghosts of the past, all held back from escape, drift in to embolden Jesse's desire to beat the odds and make it out alive, working his way back to freedom and to earn the catharsis he never got as a sidekick. He didn't break the Nazis, but he did break the chains. The symbolism ain't subtle. I have heard people say they don't feel the movie takes us anywhere new, that we end up in the same place as Season 5's ending. Look, he's escaping, and now he's escaping again. Got him. But I think they miss the ways those endings are expressed. The journey from the possibilities to the reality. He's finally untangled what was left behind, and is ready, like the rest of us, to move confidently into the future. Unlike Saul. You know, the worry of doing any kind of review or analysis of a show only halfway done is how much you might be overreaching, how you'll feel in the future when there are more seasons, how much of what you said is just waiting to get tripped up. You both want and don't want all of these things to happen. Season 5 naturally has stuff in there that goes against some of the points I made before, but in ways I felt were consistent with what the show's been doing overall, and even fulfilled a couple of predictions I'd made in ways I didn't expect, and yes, it's still the best show on TV. After having made a whole video about the use of music, particularly source music, that's understandably played down this season. I don't think you can top what the last one did with its soundtrack quite so soon. Not that it's gone, it's just tactically less invasive outside of some key scenes. The catch-up with Gene uses the well-known classic Welcome to My World, which is a much more obvious pick than the less ubiquitous choices made in the longer montages of seasons past. It's basically saying, you get it, we've been here before, you know what's going on, now check this out. You put all those scenes together, you're gonna get a little episode of its own. I'm excited about that. Bad Choice Road opens with a reprisal of the I Love You sequence rather than coming up with a new pick, and thank God, they knew they had a good thing here, so why not run with it? It's less the style this season, and more the character dynamics that are crystallized, showing how different the voice of the show is to Breaking Bad, even as we edge closer to its timeline. We know that while both shows had basic plot outlines here and there, they were written on the move, which helped with the frantic pace of Walter White's ever-improvised journey. But in Saul's case, I get the impression there's a lot more concrete plotting of each season's shape, something that seems very clear watching the episodes so close together on a binge watch. The threads feel more deliberate to an ending they know they're after, a slow fuse approach revealing a lot about our characters that, follows a couple of predictions I had going. Not that I knew any of this would be the case, just a gut instinct. Like I was way more on the money with Kim's addiction issues than I thought. The revelation of that shred in her family, maybe it takes one to know one. Brilliantly performed by Ray Seahorn, Kim has all the classic ACOA symptoms, her own being moulded around a flaw she despises, and while some are trying to spin this like her turn is sudden, it's only how far that reaches which is a shock. There was always something bad brewing back there. I half-jokingly predicted Howard was going to get caught up in the mess, maybe kidnapped or something real high concept, and they haven't done that, not really, but they're now very loudly prepping to do something with him that's going to not end well, just as the audience is warming up to him too. I'm stupidly excited to see how bad this is going to go. Lalo, I felt, was going to be a mirror of Saul, the most exaggerated version of his qualities, and we got that, and we got it good. Jimmy, having decided that the winner takes it all, makes a great impression at the start, building on what we'd seen so far, but he's finally put on the back foot by someone smarter, more charismatic, more colourful. He's the ultimate villain. Been great watching how Lalo recontextualizes the events of Breaking Bad without affecting either show's ability to stand alone. Gus was always the big guy, but now it's even more obvious how fragile he was, how dumb Tuco was, Don Eladio's ego, the list goes on. Lalo's a machine with all of their strengths and none of their hang-ups. In fact, to go back to the Sound of Saul subject, it leads to the best audio cue of the series, where a character we've been on the edge with but never seen break is seen finally letting loose, pulling all focus from any coherent thoughts until it's just noise. Jimmy is so far out of his depth, in a way that's distinct from Walt, and the show makes clear the difference in their paths to hell, all summed up in a shot that I know you've been thinking about too. You see, Walt wanted to be Heisenberg. He took a road that, deep down, he knew would make him who he wanted to be. So when he tells Skyler, "I am the danger," he believes it. Jimmy doesn't know what's going on. Up, down, left, right, what? He hasn't done the math. He didn't think this was ever possible. It's the most pathetic, funniest thing. He looks like a custom Dark Souls character. There's a friend who said that. Those confused feelings of animosity have all been projected onto Howard, who keeps coming in way too late to offer help, a metaphor for his conduct overall, and Jimmy unleashes all his rage, all this power, onto someone who doesn't deserve it. But the show doesn't believe in him.
You can't conceive of what I'm capable of! I'm so far beyond you! I'm like a god in human clothing! Lightning bolts shoot from my fingertips!
Jimmy will never be the danger. He knows it. He didn't want to give in to Chuck or Davison Maine, but life told him, you gotta. Season 6 is going to be special, the finale of it all, we know this, and the decision to add extra episodes to it in an effort to keep it the same length as Breaking Bad, El Camino included, says a lot. I don't have any more words, I'm just really excited to see it happen, and I guess I'll have to channel that excitement into other curveball videos that get made on this channel. Cover the next thing nobody wants to see from me, the history of men on Desperate Housewives. You think I joke?